Good afternoon, beautiful souls. How are you today? I hope you're well. So, I am, there goes a cat, I'm actually continuing from the other day when you saw me when I was doing my broad beans and my rose pruning. As I mentioned at the time, I can't see where my bottle of water is, eek, never mind. As I was mentioning at the time, I was hoping to have a full day in the garden, or as much as my body would allow. So I've had a spot of lunch, I've had a nice quiet half hour, I've done a bit of sorting in the shed because it's getting a bit chaotic again. I think it's one of those things, I was just thinking this to myself actually, that at this time of year I'm sort of grabbing for bits and pieces all the time. I'm sort of grabbing for bits, putting things down. It gets quite messy and chaotic literally within one visit to the plot. So I'm going to try and be a little bit more disciplined over the course of the next few weeks and say to myself that before I go home each day, just have a quick tidy up, put things away, because, well, I'm a bit messy, and the silly thing is I'm not messy at home. I put things away. And it just, I think, makes it more pleasant for the next visit when you turn up, that everything's where it should be and that you don't spend half an hour hunting for the pair of scissors that you've left on the side on the potting bench, and then they've got covered in fleece and so they become lost. So there we go. Anyway, so yes, I don't know how much I'll get done this afternoon, but I'm going to try. And the main job for this afternoon is to dig out the bean trenches. Yay! So the idea with doing the bean trenches, obviously I'm going to take you out there in a minute and show you what I'm doing, but the idea with doing them is that the beans are quite greedy, but also they really don't like having dry feet, as it were. So the idea with doing the trenches is I'll open them up now, and over the course of the next, where are we, middle of February, so March, April, so 8, 9, 10, over the next sort of 10 weeks or so, every time I'm doing a tidy up in the garden, you know, there's always a few brassica leaves that have gone yellow before I've had a chance to eat them, kitchen scraps, that sort of thing, they just all get flung in the trench as they are. Scraps of cardboard, newspaper, basically any organic matter, so that when it comes time to sow, all that organic matter is going to help retain some moisture, but also it's going to feed the plants a bit too. So that's the job to be getting on with today whilst it's dry, because we're still having this beautiful weather, although we are due to have some rain tomorrow. So, on the subject of beans, this is something else I wanted to share with you. So, these are some beans that I harvested last autumn for keeping as seed, and they started hatching. I'm going to show you, it's pretty grotty. Can you see? They're in this Tupperware. Can you see in the sort of the bottom corner there? These ones have actually died because they couldn't escape. But this is one of the problems with beans and saving dried beans, is this little bean weevil gets in, lays its egg, larvae, whatever it is, lays its egg, it turns into a larvae, and that eats the it's part of the seed's nucleus it eats. So it basically makes the seed no good for sowing. You could still eat them. Now if you're saving dried for eating, one of the ways to avoid this, if the egg will have been laid already or whatever, I don't really understand insects and everything they do, but once that egg is in there, what you can do if you're saving them for dried is get them in your jars, sealed very well, and then stick them in the freezer for 24 hours, then bring them out of the freezer. Don't open them until they're back to room temperature, because otherwise you'll let in all the warm air, that will turn to moisture and you won't have dried beans anymore, you'll have mushy beans. So yeah, if you're storing for eating, it does mean that with each bean you're eating, you're possibly eating a little egg too. Does that mean I'm not vegetarian if I've accidentally eaten insect eggs? I'm sure I've probably eaten spiders. You know, it's apocryphal, isn't it, that we all eat 2 spiders every year, because when we're lying in bed snoring with our mouths open, a spider drops in and we eat it. Anyway, ew! So yeah, but the main thing is, the problem is, as a seed saver, I don't want to freeze my... Now, I was going to say I don't want to freeze them for sowing. I don't know if... I'll have to do this as an experiment, maybe one of you knows. The problem with freezing anything is, once the ice crystals, as it were, get into the cells of whatever it is you're freezing, and this is why frozen veg can be mushy when you take it out. Those ice crystals, what they're doing is as they then defrost, as they freeze, they actually rupture the cells. So when we then defrost them, we tend to end up with mushy veg. So I don't know whether, for saving for seed, whether that initial freeze would damage the cell structures so much that they wouldn't then be viable for planting. I don't know, because I know that some seeds are kept in a deep freeze, aren't they? There's that, is it in somewhere like Greenland or Iceland or Norway or something? There's a massive underground seed store and it's frozen, I think. Anyway, this is my long and roundabout way of saying, I haven't gone through them yet. It may be that not all of them had a weevil, some of them may still be viable. Fortunately, I've got a load of save seed that's down here at the shed, which nothing is hatching. Yay! And in terms of life cycle of this happening, I will check, but I believe it happens at the kind of when the bean is really mature, just before it starts to dry. So therein is the dilemma. If I was to pick these beans green, I think it's before this egg laying happens, so I could freeze them, but then that's no good for seed saving, because the whole thing with the seed saving is we leave them on the plant until they're really, really dry. I also wonder if with some of those broad beans that I sowed, as I was showing yesterday, there are quite a few gaps, whether actually some of them already had this and that seed was therefore already destroyed. I don't know. There's a bit of science going on and I enjoy a bit of science, so I think I need to do a bit of research. Some of you guys may know something. If you do, let's share that information and knowledge so that hopefully we can avoid this horrible, can you see it in there, absolute mass of yucky little horrible things coming out. Ugh. Right, it's time to go and do some digging. I'm loving this quiet today. It's amazing. I don't know if football in the park has been cancelled. It's Sunday, it's normally really noisy. So literally all I'm going to do is down about a spade's depth and then just, oh, you're not going to be able to see, are you? Shall I bring you a bit closer? Hang on a tick. That's a bit better. So yeah, literally just about a spade's depth. Hang on, let's start this a bit easier. And then I'm just going to literally, oops, that's some celery roots. Just pile the soil up until about May. Once I've filled my little trenches, and then just bring all the soil back down over my gorgeous, lovely rotting stuff. What I'll probably do in the next few days is I'll just have these last bits of celery out. Either use them or freeze them. But yeah, that's it. Simple as. Actually, this soil's not looking too bad where it's had stuff in it over the winter. So, oh, it is suddenly a bit windy, isn't it? All I'll do now is I'll repeat this 3 more times in this bed, 4 times in the next bed, and then another 4, and then another 4 as we go. But for instance, over the winter, bits of cardboard have been blowing around as they've torn off. So that can go in there. Any little bits of rubbish, you know, where I've got some of the celery leaves have gone over, they can just come off, they go in there. So literally just keep piling up, just keep adding whatever organic matter you've got. Like I said, we're going to get some rain in a couple of days, so that'll give it a good wetting too. And then when we get to March, drag the soil back over it and plant some seeds. And hope that we don't have quite the same sort of drought that we had last year. I don't mind the sunshine, but maybe a little bit of rain of an evening. Think of it as a handy little bin to chuck stuff in as you're going around the garden doing a bit of a tidy up. This is the spoil from the herb garden when I removed a chunk of soil in order to, coming round, to be able to sink the bricks down to make my little path. And I was just mentioning the other day that I hadn't decided what to do with it or where to put it. But what I think I'm going to do is, ta-da! Got this massive, what do you call it, flower pot? It's too big to be a flower pot, surely. I've got 2 of these really big pots that, they were being thrown away by someone else, and I thought, surely I can put them to use. So what I'm thinking is, I need to find a load of stones and stuff to put in the bottom just to help with drainage. But what I'm thinking, come this way without falling over, is that going to be big enough? I reckon it might be big enough for one plant. Is if I'm planting behind the kale, I'll show you the kale in a second to give you a catch up. If I'm planting behind the kale, if I'm doing an achocha, loofah, whatever that way, then in this end I could maybe plant 1 or 2 maybe of the bird house gourds and get them coming up the fence, training up the fence. So what I'll do is, I've got all that soil, but I'd like to mix it with some compost of some description as well, partly to aid moisture retention, obviously, as food. I'll probably put a bit of the chicken manure in as well. But yeah, I think actually some of this wood can move. That's just spare wood, so I can bring it over a little bit more. I might even be able to fit 2 on there. Then it will be a case of, is there enough wire along the top to take them all? Because if you remember that achocha last year, it was planted right over there and it grew whee, past the window. Yeah, let me just quickly show you the kale. So it's looking, actually let's just whip this off a second. Let's give you a little bit of a show and tell. You can see I had loads and loads of nibbles, but I haven't lost any more leaves, and there are little signs of new growth. Can you see right in the top there? So it looks like A, it has survived the winter, and B, it has survived that absolute mashing it had from the pesky slugs earlier in the winter. Oh, I was so upset at the thought of losing it, but it looks like it's going to do okay. Actually, I might give it a little top dressing of some chicken poo soon, just to help it as it goes into a new growing season. Yay! Hey Poppy, are you going to skedaddle now? few more leaves. I'm just going to pop them there for now. I've got another tom bag that's absolutely chock full, and I've decided, oopla, don't lose your gloves. Yeah, I decided that after having mulched the garlic with the leaves, and so many of you thought it was a good idea, so many of you do it and have had really good results, I thought, right, while I've got the time at the moment, let's get all those leaves out again from behind the shed. Let's get them trimmed down, let's get them soaked, and I'm just going to literally now use them for any parts of the plot, so the brassicas, the broad beans, anything that's not covered in leaves, compost and cardboard already. I can get on with strimming this lot. There's actually still quite... Let's have a look. Yeah, that's still full to about that. Oops, it's probably a good third full still. I think that's the job for the next visit down here. I think I've almost had enough for today. It's gorgeous. Oh, get those sweet peas sown that I soaked a couple of days ago. Whew, and a cup of tea as well, I think. That's all I need to say. I'm just going to quickly pot up the rest of these sweet peas that I left to soak a couple of days ago. I had a look in the cold frame earlier and even more have come up. I'm so excited at the possibility of having my own homegrown sweet peas this year. It's been a really good sesh for me today. I've got a feeling I might pay for it tomorrow, but for the most part, everything I've done today, starting off way back this morning in the previous video with the broad beans and the rose bush, it was mostly pretty gentle. So I'm feeling it a little bit now, so I'm going to be sensible and take myself home. So, and I can also look at the state of this napkin. Ugh. I can bring this home with me today and give it a wash. Bring it home, bring it home. I've got Les Miserables on the brain these last couple of weeks. I don't know why. I haven't seen it for years. I play the soundtrack at home every now and again, and I love to have a good old sing-along to it. So, it's just a real quickie today. Well, it wasn't a quickie for me, not by any means, but I didn't think you would want to watch me digging all those bean trenches, because that would get a little bit boring after a while, wouldn't it? I just kind of wanted to give you the idea of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. But yeah, so just a quickie catch up today, whilst I'm still making the most of this beautiful weather. I know it's not going to last. I don't want to jinx myself. It's so funny, I've seen a couple of other plot holders today, and folk are really obviously just loving this weather. But literally everyone I've seen has said, oh, we're going to have snow in a week. And I just think, listen, don't worry about snow next week. I don't think we're going to have snow next week. Don't worry about next week. Just enjoy today. It's that thing of, you know, if the weather's like this, and if you possibly can, I know there's a lot of folk can't, but if you can change your plans and say, do you know what, while it's like this, I'm going to get outside, then just do it. Do it. Cancel lunch. Cancel shopping. Cancel sitting at the desk paying bills. Just get outside and make the most of it. Who knows how long it'll last? It doesn't matter. All that matters is today it's beautiful. Oh, sorry, banging the table. So today I'm enjoying it. And after I've said goodbye to all of you, I'm literally just going to sit here, all on my lonesome, quiet, and enjoy it. I do fancy a cup of tea, like I was just mentioning a moment ago. I don't drink tea very often, but every now and again I like a cup of peppermint or chamomile. But my little stove still isn't working, so I'm actually wondering whether it's a bit bust, because it should be warm enough for it to work. Never mind, I shall have a glass of water instead. Do you know, with this weather though, it feels like I should be having a glass of cold beer. Oh, that would be so nice. I shan't, of course. So, on this beautiful, warm, sunny afternoon, I shall bid you all a happy cheerio for now. Don't know when I'll see you next. Soon, I hope. But in the meantime, make the most of any opportunity you can to get outside. And if you can't, have fun with whatever you're up to inside. Take care, everyone.